before I forget. Okay, now we're recording. So I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear through the assignments that you did this last week. What did you learn? What challenged you? What pushed you to another level or helped you change your approach? I want to hear from you guys. You can unmute yourself and let it rip. I'm just going to sit here until someone says something.
Oh, I'll say something. I'm getting a little more confident and better at effectively telling my story, how I got started. I've noticed that makes a difference of being able to approach people with confidence, and keeping that simple too. You don't have to get into all the crazy details about what you were going through, but I've noticed that seems to have an impact on people. Just approaching with confidence and keeping it simple.
I'm just going to ask one question, Shauna. So if you're focused on relationship and you're focused on really helping the person, and that's what drives your conversation, the next time you see that person, do you have like this weird, awkward moment then if you're approaching it that way?
I don't think so. No, it kind of lessens that awkwardness, and I'm learning how to let people lead conversation. Maybe not being so overpowering with it, and people do like to talk about themselves, and I think that, like I said, sometimes I can be a little overpowering. So I'm learning to listen better and remember details from conversations better. So just genuine. I'm a genuine person, but just paying closer attention to detail.
Absolutely. Good. That's good stuff. And one thing that I'm still learning. I don't have all this figured out. I'm learning as I go. But someone has asked me before, so how do you talk to guys? And I said, well, for example, when I'm at the gym, I like to spend some time in the sauna. It's a great place to speak to guys, meet guys, and just trade talk a little bit. And they said, well, how do you sell Plexus to them in the sauna? I say, I don't. I talk to them about everything but Plexus. I'm just talking to another human being. Now it might be different. Maybe going silver is maybe different from where I'm at in the journey, because at silver, you're talking to a lot of the people that and a lot of the people you're already in relationship with. But so where I'm at, I've already talked to all those people. So now I've got to meet new people. And as I'm meeting them, I don't even bring up Plexus. I just talk to another human being who probably has a need that I might be able to meet. But I've got to know more about the person to know if what I have to offer can help them in any way. So I just try to be patient. And from a guy's perspective, what I do is because this is how guys communicate. At some point when I meet a guy, within the first 5 minutes, the conversation is going to dry up and one of us is going to ask, so what do you do? That's just how guys talk. That's where we find our identity a lot of time, is in what we do and how we provide for our family. That's how we communicate. And I know that question's coming. So I don't have to go on the attack. I don't have to chase the guy out of the sauna and, with my sample of Slim or whatever. I just sit back and talk to a guy. We talk about whatever. And then I know at some point when it gets awkward and we don't have anything else to say, so what do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. I never thought you would ask. And then I just tell them about what I do. I work for a health and wellness company, and then I just keep quiet. My goal is to make a connection with this person I don't know. My goal is not to sell anything or to close anything. It may happen, but that's not my goal. My goal is to make a connection with someone and to build a relationship so I'll have an opportunity to share Plexus down the road. So they ask the question, I start answering. I work for a company I work for a health and wellness company, and then I just be quiet. And then they can't just be quiet. They have to ask, so what company is it? And I'll say, Plexus Worldwide. Have you heard of it? And, depending on how they answer, that tells me which way to go with my conversation. If they're like, yeah, I've heard of that stuff. If they answer kind of negatively or sarcastically, it doesn't even bother me. I just go right back to what we were talking to before we started talking about Plexus. Like I just act like it doesn't even bother me. If he's interested or he's like, wow, that's really neat, then I'll talk to him a little bit more. So when I first started, I just wanted to close everybody. Hey, sign up, and come and join me. And all this kind of a pressuring, begging sort of a approach. And I just don't do that. I think the relationship thing is really, really important. So who else has something that they've learned this last week with the stuff you've read and watched?
I thought that the compliance part of it was interesting, like what you can and can't say. Because there were things I'm like, well, why couldn't you say, well, I got, I earned a trip, or why could, and once I read it, I understood it better. But at first I was kind of like, well, why not? But now it makes more sense. And it's funny because my actual job, I am a compliance officer. That's my day job. So it's kind of like, oh, why wouldn't I know that? It's a different kind of compliance. It's with criminals, but still, I should kind of get that better, I would have thought. But that was really interesting to me.
There we go. Sorry. So I have, I think it's important to bring up compliance because I think we have the wrong view of what compliance is. And we have a negative view of compliance. They're the killjoy, and you can't do anything. But honestly, I've talked with the compliance chief in Scottsdale at the corporate office. And as soon as I heard from him, I had a different view of compliance. And compliance is there for the company's protection, and compliance is there for our protection. Honestly, the compliance department is on our team. I mean, we're all on the same team here. I mean, if they let us post anything we want to post, the company will get fined and could close down. Many companies in the health and wellness industry have closed down because of false claims. Not only that, many companies in the health and wellness industry won't even let you post on social media, period. It's not allowed. So compliance helps us to use these free social media tools. So we should work within some of I'm going to be careful here. I am recording myself. So I'm going to be not compliant probably for a second, and then we'll go back to following the rules. But compliance it's a real tricky, there's a line. There's like a fine line or a balance, and we want to be as compliant as we can. But a rule, an ordinance, or a law is only as effective as its ability to be enforced. Okay? So having said that, you can't go on and say, I had cancer and Plexus cured me of cancer. That's a false claim. But it's such a tricky thing because after you've been in a while, you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, compliance may call you and say, hey, your post is not compliant. You need to change this, 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 and this to make it compliant or take it down. So, and then you have to comply with that, or they can turn your ambassadorship off for a period of time. I know people on our team that has happened to. Shannon raised the hand. So, I mean, but the thing to understand is compliance is not out to get us, okay? And we should follow the rules as much as we can, because if we start taking advantage of this, then they can be a lot harder. They can just make it to where you can only post pictures that they provide for us to post, and or they can make it so that social media is off limits completely. So we want to be as compliant as we can, but just know that people are watching what we post. The FDA and other people are watching social media. They're watching hashtags. They're looking for keywords. So you just can't say stuff like, you have to use some common sense. You can't say that it cures a certain disease and use that disease by name. You can't say if you join Plexus, you'll be making, $1 million a year. You just can't make claims like that because it's not true. And we want to be, one of the things I want to do is I want to help clean up people's opinion of this industry. A lot of people have negative opinions of this industry because of false claims, because of promises made that you just can't keep. So we want to do things with integrity. We want to be honest. We want to tell the truth, and we want to play by the rules as much as we can. So who else has something they learned this week?
I think that one of the things that I fall into is I tend to think big picture, all or nothing. And there's so much to be shared on the journey, the little things. I think too that it has to be too packaged, and I need to think simpler and smaller and just, on my first mission trip, the leader of our group talked to us about not to spend so much time focusing on what we were going to do for the day that we missed the people that were on the way, because so many people that Jesus ministered to were on his way to somewhere else. And I need to not be thinking so much about, oh, I need to sign, 5 ambassadors tomorrow, that I miss 3 people along the way that could use the kids' vitamin because their kids are getting the flu every year. So I get, I have to really change the way that my natural tendency goes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think it comes back to relationship and being able to ask questions and know what the needs of that person are and try to help, meet those needs. Exactly. Anybody else have something they learned from this week? I don't want to keep you guys on here too long, but anybody? No? I'm going to give a quick story real quick about relationships and why I think it's important, especially in this business. Actually, it's important in every industry. I was listening to 2 political candidates speaking tonight. I wrote down in my notes as I was listening to how they answered, and I wrote down that relationships are key in every industry. And I have a political bent or bias. I mean, we all do, I think. But the people on the other side, I'm great friends with, and I have a relationship with them. So when I walk into the room, I'm able to shake their hand and look into their eyes and have a conversation with them and love them and, just trade talk and there's no moment of awkwardness or that, oh, there's that other person that I hate. I just don't live my life that way. And so I think relationships are extremely important in every industry, especially in what we're doing. And I was talking to a guy in Austin, Texas, yesterday. This guy, anybody remember the Live Strong organization? It was the Lance Armstrong Foundation at one time, and it became Live Strong. Everybody had the yellow bracelets at one time, back in the day. I think almost everybody had one. So the man I was talking to he ran Live Strong for Lance Armstrong when they first started. He was one of the 4 founding members, this man I was talking to. Anyway, now he's moved on and he's in real estate in Austin, Texas. And he was telling me, he said, I don't advertise. I never run an ad. I never put my picture in the paper. I do everything through word of mouth. He said, I build my business through relationships, not through marketing and not through sales. And it was just a really great conversation. And now he has 20 different real estate brokers working under him. Extremely successful person. And he's done it all through relationship. And I thought, man, it's really fitting, especially this week as we're reading these things and watching these things about how important relationships are. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Here's this guy, extremely successful. He ran a $1 billion nonprofit for Lance Armstrong. And he says, it's all about relationships. Everything is about relationships. And he said, all this stuff that I do is all word of mouth. I never do anything. And it's the same way with our business, I think. It's word of mouth. It's relationship. It's not marketing. It's not sales. It's not the next scheme or gimmick. So I thought that was a great story. And he was an extremely incredible guy to talk with. So what I'm going to do is talk about just a couple things for the assignments this next week. There's a lot of different things. So we've gone through, the very first week, there's kind of some new things, learning things about the business, about the company, about the back office, about some of the tools we have. The second week was a lot about relationship, and kind of some practical ways of talking with people. The things from this week there are going to be some practical things too, but it's more about planning. It's more about the next step. Okay, you've signed somebody up. Speaking of that, how many people, anybody sign any ambassadors up this week? Shauna, I knew you did. Anybody else? Liz? Okay. Oh, she gave a thumbs up to Shauna. Okay. Sweet. That's good. We got, one more ambassador. That's exciting to me. And I did not run around the building like last week after I said I was going to, but I will run twice around the house after we get done with this call tonight to celebrate Shauna. But this week is going to be a lot about, okay, what's the next step after you sign an ambassador? What do you do next? And it's going to fall right back on to relationship. Okay, it's going to be just following up with that person, asking questions with that person. Okay. Some of the things you're going to learn about this week are your brand. Each one of us has a brand, whether we realize it or not. Each one of us, the way we post, the way that we speak, the way that we smile or frown all the time, each one of us has a brand. And I don't think we realize that. So, so it's going to talk about how you're going to develop your brand. How are you going to pretty much sell yourself, I guess, that sounds bad, but really every person has a brand and everybody's selling something. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about in the assignments this week, mapping out a 30-day goal, mapping out a 30-day plan. And I can tell you, 3 years into this, my wife, she's, it depends on the week, but most weeks she's in the top 5 ambassadors in the whole company. And that is teamwork. There's a lot of things there, but she has a plan. She's so good at having a plan all the time and being committed to that plan. She's so consistent. I'm learning a lot from her, and I always have. I'm always about a half a step behind her, which is fine. But she always has a plan, and most people don't plan to fail. Most people fail to plan. And if you don't write it out what you're going to do, you're probably not going to accomplish it. So it's very, very important to map these things out. This week is going to talk about the art of duplication. Now, what does duplication mean? Basically, if you sign 3 and go silver, it's helping those 3 sign 3 and go silver. It's just duplicating the work you're doing down into your organization. That'll be one of the topics this week. There's another one called IPAs and DMOs, and you're probably, if you haven't looked ahead, you're probably wondering, what the heck is that? Well, it's IPA stands for income producing activity. You know, scrolling Facebook is not an income producing activity, and we can get caught up into that. It's crazy. I've got my work, I got my list, I'm doing work, and then like 30 minutes later, I'm on somebody's photos, like looking at 2014 family vacation photo, and I'm like, I'm not even friends with this person. How did I get here? You know, this is not an income producing activity. So we have to watch some of those things that are a drain on our time. And then DMO, that's another thing. If you haven't looked at this, it's the daily mode of operation. What are we doing consistently, daily, every single day? And one thing I'll share with you real quick, and I know that a lot of people in this business really want the magic bullet. They want, okay, Justin, tell me the one message I need to send to the one person who's going to sign up and who's going to make me rich. And that's what a lot of people are looking for. And I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't. It's not out there. And if it is, it's probably not going to be very fulfilling. So we haven't found it. But what I have found is everything that we've learned up to this point, making your list, focusing on relationship, sharing your story, being a person of integrity, posting in ways that attract people to you and your life and what you have to offer. The things that we've learned, making a list, making a goal, all those things I just mentioned is how you do this business. The problem is that it's not that people don't know how to do it. It's that people aren't consistent. And you have to do it on a daily, day in, day out, when you feel like it, when you don't feel like it, when your family member calls you a loser and says you don't have a job. You know, that's from my own personal experience, because they're worried I don't have a job, which is really hilarious. But anyway, that's a whole nother training. I could do it another time. But the thing is, there is no magic bullet. And the things that we're learning over these last couple of weeks, these are the things. And people just don't. A lot of people think that it's too simple. And it is simple. What we do is simple. It's not easy. There's a difference between simple and easy. And what we do, though, is simple. We have a really simple plan. We just do it consistently every single day. And that's the secret. You want the secret, that's it. You know, and I think that there is no magic bullet. There's no magic message, and there's no magic way to sign up someone who's going to just do all the work for you. It doesn't work. So this week, some of those things that we've talked, some of the assignments, and I'll post those afterwards. I'll post those. And one thing real quick on the last thing I'm going to have for the last assignment. This is an interesting thing. It's a test. So it'll take you to a website to answer a bunch of questions. And I think it's really important to do this test. I did the test. I'll share my results with you next week. But it's really eye-opening to see kind of where you're at, who you are, how you think, how you approach different people. And I just think it's important. It shows you how to relate with people. Maybe it'll show you some areas that you might need to look at, maybe to be more balanced. But that'll be on here too. And that's a really incredible test. So I am waiting on my people. They're in the other room drawing names. So they'll be in here in a second. But in the meantime, what have you got for me? Anybody have any questions, concerns, complaints about anything? I'm a pretty open guy, so you can pretty much ask about anything. Nobody? Nothing? Too embarrassing?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I have recently moved, and where I'm coming from, there's the area that I was in, the homeschooling community that I was with in my church. Almost all the ladies were on Plexus. So I was excited to be moving, not because I didn't like any of them, because I did. And I have had, when I got here, I knew that I wanted to become an ambassador. I've been on the products for a year. And I have had a couple of opportunities. I don't get out much. I'm not a recluse. I really love people. And I have had a couple of opportunities where people have asked me very direct questions about things that I'm doing for my own health. And I totally dropped the ball, like 100%. Like, I was at a marriage retreat with one lady, and she really desperately needed these products. My life is falling apart because I have an autoimmune disorder, and my husband thinks I'm making it up. And I'm like, I have products for you. And I didn't get her name. I never carry my phone with me, which is clearly something I need to be doing. So when that happens and you have an opportunity that's like a golden opportunity to be like, hey, how do you handle that?
Yeah, well, one thing, if you don't have cards or something like that, you have to have a way to connect with the person. My wife is she's way better at this than I am, but she'll bring out her phone like, Rada, hey, we should be friends. And man, she'll friend her right there on the spot. And I'm like, man, are like people staring at us, but she's a diamond and I'm not. So maybe I should pay closer attention, I guess. So I think, one way or another, getting a connection so you can follow up, because most people are not going to sign up on the first introduction to Plexus or anything really. So following up is key. So finding ways that you can follow up, and to do that, you'll have to connect with them. You'll have to Facebook, a phone number, a business card, something so that you can follow up with them. If you've missed an opportunity, I don't know where you talk to her at, but if it's maybe a common place and you do see her, definitely take advantage of. You could pray she gets a flat tire or something. You come across her on the highway again. I don't know. You're going to miss some opportunities. You're going to miss. I missed an opportunity last night at the FedEx Kinko's place. And after I left in a hurry, and then I thought, man, I really missed out on an opportunity there. So, I mean, you just have to keep learning as you go, and pay attention to what people are saying. And, and if you can, find any way to connect with that person, email, whatever thing you can connect with them on, try to connect with them.
I had been thinking about doing like a Facebook group of my own, not necessarily specifically Plexus, but I've been on like a health journey for the last like 2.5 years, losing 80 pounds, running, training for half marathon, doing all kinds of things like this. So it's kind of been a trend on my Facebook page anyway. And I thought maybe I could invite some of my friends who are thinking along those lines as well to be in like a Facebook group. And, I would of course sometimes mention Plexus in there. Is that something that sometimes people do, or something that you shouldn't do because of compliance, or like, you have any thoughts or advice about that?
Yeah, no, I think private groups can be helpful. Moving things to a private group, I think that could be helpful. Maybe some people don't want to be on public Facebook talking about their health issues. I mean, it's gonna work with people you're in a relationship though with, usually, not not new people probably aren't going to come join your group necessarily. But I will say though, if you're joining a group that is already in place, which that doesn't sound like what you're doing, but if you go to like a autoimmune Facebook community page, a lot of times those groups don't allow you to share anything that you may be trying to sell. So that's just something I want to throw out there. But as far as your own personal group that you want to invite people to come, it's only weird if it doesn't work. Yes, Kathy had something to say too, to add to that.
That's how Wendy got me. She had a group that was just health related, and I knew she sold Plexus, but I joined this group because I was trying to get my A1C for diabetes down, and that's how she got me.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a health group. And I do belong to a couple keto groups, and they'll always ask me, you know, they'll always ask questions about one of the problems with keto is that people get constipated, and I'll just always throw out, oh, I use Plexus BioCleanse, it's the best stuff ever, and never act how I'm selling it, but people can always contact me privately if they want to.
Perfect. Who else? Anybody else have any questions at all? Okay, so I have got some names here on the drawing. My family in the other room, I don't know what they're doing, but it sounds like they're stomping through the floor. But when you have 5 boys in a small house, it doesn't take much to make some noise. So anyway, so we have 2 names drawn for the $50. Do you have something, Jason? Did you want to share something?
Real quick. So what other avenues as far as meeting people besides social media do you guys go? I know I go to the gym too. I go to a CrossFit gym, and I've actually in the last couple of days did a couple little classes, you know, gave out some samples and stuff like that, but not trying to be too pushy. I've always did high pressure sales. So it's kind of don't miss the boat, you know, which does not work with this product. But the platform that I have going, since December, I've lost 84 pounds. You know, I've became extremely healthy. And what other, I mean, I hear people doing like the 310, I mean, not the 310, but the, like the clothing and stuff, and they do craft shows, stuff like that. What other opportunities are out there that aren't just beating the dead horse? You know what I mean?
Bill
Okay,
and I,
there we go.
my
Okay.
husband and I, are involved in a marriage ministry, and so we travel around and speak at marriage conferences. So I meet people there and make friends with them. I don't even mention Plexus when I first meet them. I just make friends with them and then friend them on Facebook so that we can chat and visit and keep in touch with each other. So those are people that I meet like face to face and add to my network that way. And then after I've gotten to know them really well, or I see areas that Plexus could help them with, like with anxiety or sleep disorders or health issues or whatever, then I'll present Plexus to them because we've already built a relationship and they trust my integrity at that point. So I don't know, making new friends face to face is, you know, something that you can do not on social network, but you can still use social network to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, I think that one thing is what is an extension of you, you know, and so, you know, when I was in Scottsdale last November for some Plexus leadership training, I was one of the only guys in the group. So all the girls wanted to say, okay, Justin, share with us how guys do some of this stuff. They say, well, you know, I said, well, I don't know. And they said, well, for example, you're at the grocery store and, you know, you're going to share Plexus with some woman. I said, that's pretty easy. I said, what would you do? I said, well, I don't. Because that's just not my community. I don't grocery shop. I blow the budget if I do anyway. I can set the budget really well, but I just can't keep it when I go. I don't know where anything is. And just going and talking to a woman, strange woman at Walmart in the grocery section is just a little creepy for me. That's not how I build my business. So they said, so you don't do that? I said, no, that's just not my approach. So I just don't approach it that way. So I think, but I mean, going to the gym, if I'm talking to people and just, I try to meet new people all the time, everywhere I go. I'm constantly connecting with people. It's not like I connect with a guy and I hope to sign that one guy up in 3 months and he's going to change my business forever. I am constantly meeting new people. I am constantly talking to new people. I'm constantly building relationships. I'm constantly posting who I really am on social media. And then I'm constantly sharing with people that I've built relationships with. So, but I don't do it in areas that I'm not, I think people can smell a fraud a lot of times. And I think, so, in the political realm in Illinois, people know what I do. And because I've built relationships with them, they see on Facebook what I post about. They know who I am and what I do. Triathlons, people that I've met and now have relationship with in the triathlon community, they know who I am. They know what I do. I've built relationships with those people. Going to the YMCA in Champaign, they know I'm the Plexus guy. And that just has come over time through avenues that I'm comfortable being in. Men's groups, Christian men's groups, they know what I do. And they know that I feel like this is the path that God has given us to walk for right now. So I just live out my life, and as I'm walking out my life, I just share with other people. I share with them who I am. I share with them what I do, because that's who I am and what I do. And so it's kind of a natural approach. It's not necessarily a gimmick or sales approach. So I guess whatever areas of life that you're involved in, whether it's the gym, whether it's kids sports, whether it's politics, whatever it is, just let that be especially initially, let that be your network. When I first started, I wasn't even on Facebook. I mean, I was, but not really. My network was the guys I worked with for 14, 15 hours a day. That's who I shared with. And so I don't know that there's a right way, a wrong way. There is social media. There's the old school, pick up the phone book and just start calling strangers. There's, some of the best network marketers of all time have used a rotary phone and a phone book. And that's how they've made their fortunes. So I'm not knocking it. I just haven't tried it yet. So I don't know that there's one necessarily right or wrong way. It's just what is going to put you in a position where you're confident sharing your story and what you have to offer with other people. You constantly have to be talking with people. So whatever's going to put you in a position to where you feel confident doing that, I think that's the direction you should continue to go. If that makes sense, hopefully it does. So just real quick, my wife has built pretty much her whole business on Facebook. I've built a lot of my business in person. One of my favorite things to do is to go on vacation because I meet new people from new places and I make a connection with them. And then if you think that, and this is something I tell people all the time, if you think that like the market is saturated with Plexus and everybody knows about Plexus, turn off Facebook and go on vacation. It doesn't matter where I go. We went to Hawaii. Everybody I talked to never even heard of it. We were at a Plexus event with the highest, all the leaders in Plexus at this shopping mall, shopping for a shopping spree. And we're talking to people that all these ambassadors are doing business with, and they haven't heard of Plexus yet. So we're handing out cards like, like crazy. So, I mean, it's whatever's going to put you in front of someone. Yes, Victoria.
Is that a tax write-off? I can't hear you.
Sorry. Which thing are you talking about?
So, for instance, my husband is getting sent to West Virginia next month for a week and a half, and we just found out that what normally they would pay for his lodging, and we were just going to use that to stay. They are actually sticking him in a room with another person. So if we go, we'll end up having to pay out of pocket. If that's is there a way to claim that as a business tax write-off?
For your Plexus business?
Yes.
I mean, if you go and you do Plexus work, I would say so. I mean, I everywhere I go, I do work. This is we work on a business, in my opinion. I mean, talk to your tax professional first, because I'm not a tax professional. I would talk to him or her first. But for me and for our situation, wherever we go, I'm networking. I'll turn a family vacation into a networking opportunity. I was going to say a funeral, but that sounds really bad. I wouldn't do that, I don't think, unless it was real far away. But no, I'm kidding. So, I mean, if you think about it, this is my office. We live in a new kind of time in business. Amazon has changed the face of business for everybody, really. So, yeah, on something like that, I would just make sure, once again, we go back to integrity. And I think if you're there and you are, and if you are actively working your business and making connections, and you turn that into a business trip, then yes, I think you could write it off. But I would absolutely always refer back to your tax professional and get their view on it, because all tax professionals have different views and different ways of working things, and everybody's financial situation is different, so it's hard to do a blanket statement. All I'd say is, if you're going to write it off as a business expense, be sure you're doing business, and make sure you're writing down the people that you meet while you're there, receipts. I mean, you'd want to have a paper trail, because we want to, like I said, have integrity with what we do.
I just got back from a family vacation in a tiny, tiny little town in Mississippi, and I ran into somebody there wearing a Plexus t-shirt too. So you never know. But I just said, "Love your shirt," and I didn't have a chance to chat with her, but they're out there.
What was the name of the town? I'm just curious, because I have a really great friend down in Mississippi who's he and his wife are ambassadors.
French Camp off the Natchez Trace. It's small. And they had a big festival there with alumni coming from around the area, and my mom's an alumni, and that's why we were there. But I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see, it was real crowded and busy, and, all the 200 people were there. I think that was the whole town, and then some.
Was it down by the coast?
No.
Okay.
On the Natchez Trace.
Well, because one of the reasons I asked is because it started pretty much in Mississippi or in Louisiana, in the South there. So some of the original ambassadors that we have in the company are from the South, right in that area. So there probably would be several people there that are on Plexus.
Yeah. Small world.
Very. Okay. So anybody else have anything at all? No? Okay, so let's draw. They drew some names. Let me see what they sent me. Okay, so we have two names. We're going to draw two names. I just decided to draw two names each week. So the first one is Jason Ratliff, $50 winner. And then we have Beth. I don't know how to say your last name, Beth. I don't know if you're even on here. Beth, A-K-E. I don't know how to say that. Akey, Beth. Anyway, you are the second $50 winner, so I'll send you a message about that. So anyway, that's about all I have. If anybody else has anything, it's great talking with all of you guys. I really enjoy it. And but yeah, really just pay attention to the assignments this week. I think that there's some really good stuff. And then we'll meet again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Next Tuesday at 9 p.m. I'll see how it works, but I'll be at the leaders retreat somewhere. I've never been on a ship before. So I'll be somewhere on a ship. So hopefully I will have internet connection. Surely you have internet connection on a cruise ship, don't you? Surely? Jason's saying yes. So I don't know. So we'll just plan on that. I'll do everything in my power to make that call. So if no one else has any questions, I will post as soon as I get off here and get the kids to bed. I'll post the assignments for week number 3, and then I'll post some pictures again like I have in the past so people can comment on those specific assignment pictures. And that's all I got. So if no one else has anything, have a great week. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I'll talk to you soon.